And you have just been watching CBS News coverage of the funeral of Pope Francis. You are taking a live look right now at Vatican City. And this Saturday morning, just moments ago, we saw the procession through the streets of Rome. Pope Francis's coffin carried into the Basilica of St. Major Mary, where the Pope will be buried. Just about an hour and a half ago, where you see all of those people gathered there in St. Peter's Square. The funeral service wrapped up there. About 250,000 people in attendance there. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Marcella Robertson. This is certainly a ceremony rooted in centuries of tradition, but also deeply personal for the millions who saw the Pope as a voice for compassion and a voice for change. Right now, we want to take a deeper look at the service, the symbolism, and really the legacy of the Pope. Joining me this morning to talk more about this is Dr. Kurt Martins, a professor at Catholic University. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
Morning.
We saw 250,000 people filed into St. Peter's Square here for the Pope's funeral. What are some of the moments as you're looking back and reflecting on this that really stood out to you?
Well, this is obviously one visual, right? We're celebrating, we're saying goodbye to the shepherd of the entire church, and everything is about symbols, visuals, and whatnot, with the personal touch, as you just said, of Pope Francis, his closeness to the poor, to the marginalized, and whatnot. That came to light yesterday when they were closing the coffin and putting the so-called rogito, actually an accomplishment of his life, in the coffin. That came out there in the homily of Cardinal Ray. That came out. So that's one thing. And then obviously one other thing that we cannot forget is that the Vatican, as we say, or the Holy See, is present on the world stage. And what do we see on around the altar? All these world leaders there. So the soft diplomacy in action, as we call it, soft diplomacy, because the Holy See doesn't have a military, save for the Swiss Guard. And we see already the results. Some people were talking today about the first miracle of Francis, in the sense that President Zelensky and President Trump had a meeting just before the funeral, a one-on-one. So a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, a lot to unpack, certainly a lot of significance. We just saw the photo there of President Zelensky and President Trump there, just really stunning to see. I want to go back to the service itself. Cardinal Ray, you mentioned delivering the homily. Can you talk about the significance of the cheers in the crowd? I think that stood out to me. Every time he mentioned inclusivity, migrants, refugees, the environment, the crowd really erupted in cheers. It's not something we typically see during a funeral.
Well, you see that normally on papal events that the crowd will cheer. We saw that also in 2005, remember, 20 years ago with John Paul II when he was buried. During his funeral, the crowds were also applauding what then Cardinal Ratzinger, the dean of the Sacred College, said in his homily. And so you saw the same thing. Cardinal Ray knew what to say during his homily, what to emphasize, and the crowd reacted to that. It was kind of also significant when, just before the funeral, that there were two moments of applause. That was when President Zelensky entered the square and was escorted to his place. And then the second moment when the coffin of Francis was carried into the square. And then actually a third moment when he was carried away back to St. Peter's Basilica. And so that's normal to some extent, although a funeral ought to be a celebration of our faith in the risen Christ, in the faith that death is not the end, but just a beginning, a new beginning. And so the whole funeral liturgy is just an expression thereof.
Yeah, certainly speaks to the legacy of the Pope and the significance of all of that. We just have a few seconds left, but I want to talk a lot about the next steps, right? What are we looking at after this? People have said the final goodbye to the Pope, and certainly with all respect to him, but I know that it is certainly next steps that are steeped in tradition as well, and what we will see over the next couple of days or so.
Absolutely. So in the next couple of days, we still have the mourning that continues. So today is the first day of the 9 days of mourning, the so-called Novemdiales. So that continues. But in the meantime, the next step, the second phase of the Sede Vacante starts, and it is the preparations for the conclave, and then ultimately the conclave, that is the election itself of the new Bishop of Rome. And because he's Bishop of Rome, he's the shepherd of the entire Catholic Church, which also was expressed during the funeral liturgy, because he had all the faces of the whole church there, east and west, etc. And so you'll see that also during the Novem Dialis. But that pre-conclave has already started the moment Francis passed away. And there were interviews given left and right by cardinals, somewhat veiled, but some already giving an indication of where they wanted to go with the conclave. But you never know how that works out.
Right, so we will be certainly watching very closely. Dr. Martins, we appreciate your insight this morning, and thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
If you missed the funeral service this morning, Pope Francis's funeral service, we will replay it on WC9 Plus throughout the weekend for you. You can download the Plus app on your TV and watch for free.